No Man's Sky now looks like a true next-gen title on PSVR2, and I've received tons of messages from gamers jumping in for the first time. After over 20 major content updates, there's quite a lot you can do in the game now, but some basics you need to learn first. So today, we're sharing some beginner tips and tricks you need to know when starting your journey through the universe. Before we get started, consider subscribing for more No Man's Sky content in the future. Now let's begin. No Man's Sky is open-world sci-fi exploration at its core. It's based around procedurally generated systems full of planets with different biomes, economies, and discoveries to find. There's loads of exciting adventures to go on and things to experience, from riding exotic creatures to taking down giant capital ships, and so much more. I recommend starting on normal mode, the way the game was originally intended to be played. This will offer just a slight bit of challenge while teaching you the basics of survival in the beginning, but it will also make the journey itself more fun and rewarding. That being said, if you're just not into combat or don't have the time to learn all the little awesome hacks and workarounds in the game, you can fully customize the settings to your own personal preferences. No Man's Sky starts you out in the middle of nowhere, with broken technology and a hazardous planet slowly draining your shields. On the bottom right, you will have your mission tracker. Pay close attention to this starting out, and be sure to follow the icon as they have redesigned it to guide you step by step as to what you need to be doing. To break it down, you're going to repair your scanner and recharge your hazard protection, locate your ship, repair it and travel into space, build a small base, and then finally reach the Space Anomaly. There's a lot of steps in between these though, and some things you need to understand first. The inventory menu can be found on your wrist. From here, you can view cargo, and more importantly, this is where you do all of your crafting. Items can be crafted in your inventory by clicking on any empty spot in your cargo, and hovering over an item in the craft or install menu will tell you what resources you need to mine or collect in order to make them. Above cargo is a different section for technology storage. You can build additional technology that will grant you new abilities once you discover or purchase new blueprints. You can also purchase upgrades and have them installed in here as well. Upgrades are extremely important for enhancing your installed technology. They can do things like make you more resistant to harsh weather conditions, allow you to jetpack for much longer distances, and make your weapons more powerful. Upgrades will always be applied to a piece of technology, which can be confusing since they have the same picture, but the easiest way to tell the difference is that upgrades will always have a letter grade. When installing an upgrade, always place them next to the corresponding technology for additional stat boosts. You can tell when you have them chained together by a line highlighted around them. Multitools can only have technology and upgrades installed. Not only can you enhance the mining lasers and scanners, but you can also add different weapon types for combat, a cloaking device, a shield, and upgrades for them. When mining with the multi-tool, you can see the temperature gauge and remaining charge in the top right. Once the tool gets hotter, the bar will then start to turn red and the adaptive triggers will become more resistant. If you can keep the gun red hot but avoid overheating completely, it will mine a lot faster. The base computer is the most basic way of claiming a territory, and once it's installed, you can warp back to it from any portal. It is essential to place base computers to any location you want to revisit. When naming a base computer, I recommend first using something that describes what's on the planet. Typically, the landscape and animals work pretty well. Space stations are important to touch base with for several reasons, and every space station can be revisited later from any portal. All it takes is just a quick visit to permanently gain access to it. From space stations, you can customize your appearance, purchase upgrades for your suit, ship, exocrafts, and multi-tools, purchase a better ship from any NPC visitor, and more. The most important thing to do when starting out is to visit the exosuit merchant and prioritize purchasing an additional inventory spot for your cargo. If you don't have enough money right now, you can always quickly revisit them later by using the portal at the station. Outlaw Stations have now been added to pirate systems and contain some similarities, however they have unique upgrades and pirate-based missions that are super fun. There are several different types of starships with different stats to find and collect. Besides the essential components for exploring, such as the launch thrusters for takeoff, pulse drives for boosting, and hyperdrives for warping to new systems, the most important piece of technology you want to have installed is the phase beam. The phase beam is not only good for draining enemy shields, but also recharges yours in the process, so it is vital for doing damage and staying alive in combat. You can install upgrades to enhance everything on your ship, add additional weapons to cycle through, scanners to help you find places of interest like trade outposts, economies, and more. Everything from ships to multi-tools to upgrades and more have a specific class rating which ranks from C being the lowest and S being the highest. When starting out, anything is pretty much an improvement and worth having. Ships and multi-tools can be upgraded using terminals found at space stations, so if you find one you really like but it's a low grade, you can always upgrade it later. The best way to find new multi-tools at first is by visiting the multi-tool merchant at every space station, every minor trade outpost which can be found on planets, and sometimes gifted from NPCs. After you've completed the first basic steps, the Space Anomaly is the first real destination you want to reach before venturing off too far. It's a central hub that can be summoned from anywhere in outer space and will make it much easier to explore and upgrade with much less grind. There's loads of technology and upgrades you can purchase from the merchants and terminals in the back. Every time you spawn the anomaly into a new system, you can purchase an additional slot for your inventory. You can also easily purchase all of the Exocrafts from here, which I highly recommend doing, as well as obtaining new weapons and upgrades for your ship, suit, and multi-tool. The Nexus gives you specialized missions that you can play either solo or with a group of friends to earn special rewards. Most Nexus missions teleport you to a new system, so you can use this as a way early on to randomly warp to new systems to explore without having to use resources. Just remember to place a base computer and get in and out of your ship to save if you find a location you like. To the back right, there's an appearance customizer, a merchant you can upload data from scanning planets, flora, and fauna for Nanites to, as well as a merchant you can sell upgrades you don't want for Nanites. Finally, Nada and Polo can be found here at the top center to begin the Artemis storyline campaign. You can complete this to access the brand new robotic autophage race storyline after. Units are the main form of currency and can be used to purchase new ships, inventory spots, and multi-tools. The best way to earn them starting out is just by simply scanning flora and fauna, as well as selling valuable trade items to trade terminals. Nanites are a secondary currency mostly used for purchasing upgrades, adding additional slots for pets you can adopt, and more. My two favorite ways to farm for them is fighting sentinels and collecting upgrades they drop, then selling those upgrades to the merchant in the Space Anomaly, as well as farming for tainted metal in Derelict freighters, which tainted metal can then be refined 2 for every 1 into nanites. You can find Derelict freighters by activating a scanner you receive from this merchant at the space station, and then pulse driving. And finally, there's Quicksilver, which can be earned from the Nexus Missions and spent on turning into unique items from the merchant nearby. After 3 hours of recorded playtime, on your 5th warp you will enter a system in the middle of a freighter battle. If you manage to save the freighter, you'll be invited to come aboard, and if you talk to the captain, he'll offer you the freighter for free. You only get one freebie, so make sure the first one you choose is one that's a good grade and one that you want. Freighters can have bases installed on them, provide additional storage, warp to further distances, and you can collect and build fleets to send on expeditions to retrieve huge rewards, and so much more. They're not only extremely useful, but they're also really awesome. Alright guys, I know that was a lot, but hopefully you learned a couple new tips and tricks as well as figured out some things you might be interested in doing. With it being an open universe sandbox with deep mechanics, it might seem a little daunting at first, but piece by piece you'll start discovering the amazing times to be had. As always,
Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.